You wake under a dripping canopy, and the air feels thick enough to drink. Your phone shows no signal, and the only landmark is an endless wall of trees. In the distance, a howler monkey roars, and your heartbeat answers it. Your last memory is a small boat and a sudden turn, now replaced by wet leaves and darkness. The Amazon is not one jungle but millions of square kilometers of repeating patterns. In a single minute, the trail behind you becomes invisible, like footprints erased by a green ocean. Search teams treat Lost as a clock, not a mystery, and that clock starts the second you stop being predictable. A satellite map can narrow zones, but a moving target explodes the search grid. Cruise ships have railings and cameras, but the forest has none, and your fall was social, not physical. No one knows you're missing, so there is no radio call and no helicopter rotor yet. In the Amazon, heat is not comfort, it is a tax on every decision you make. Sweat steals water, and humidity blocks cooling, turning simple walking into a slow leak of strength. This is where survival becomes management, not heroism, and you must choose a plan before the jungle chooses one for you. Most people imagine predators first, but professionals fear dehydration and infection. A small scratch under a fingernail can matter more than a jaguar, because bacteria and fungi work without noise. The forest floor is a trap of roots and wet clay, and a twisted ankle ends movement-based strategies instantly. Your shoes and a simple bandage decide whether you can travel tomorrow or crawl. Sound misleads you, because rivers, roads, and villages can echo through valleys. A distant engine might be real or imagined, and following it blindly can push you deeper into nowhere. Rain arrives like a curtain, and visibility collapses to a few meters. Your phone screen becomes a flashlight, but every % of battery is now a ration you spend without refilling. Even if you do everything right, you are gambling against time, weather, and your own psychology. Before you move, you need one clear objective: become findable or become self-rescuing. If you decide to self-rescue, the first divergence is direction, and the second is pace. A paper map is rare, so you must choose between following water and holding a fixed bearing. If you decide to stay, you trade distance for detectability, but only if you create a signal that stands out. A bright cloth on a branch can do more than kilometers of wandering. Before we move on to the first hour, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and suggest your own ideas for what-if scenarios to get more similar content. Transition now from fear to mechanics, because the jungle rewards calm decisions and punishes improvisation. Picture a search grid and a lone figure, and remember that every hour changes the rules. In the first hour, your body burns energy fast from stress hormones, even if you sit still. A breathing rhythm and a shaded spot reduce that burn, buying time with biology. Thirst arrives early, but drinking from a clear stream can deliver parasites you cannot see. A bottle and a fire are safer than luck, because boiling is a filter your body understands. You need shelter before you need food, because wet skin loses heat at night and invites hypothermia. A fallen log and a plastic poncho can turn rain into noise instead of danger. Mosquitoes and sandflies treat exposed skin like a buffet, and bites become inflammation and distraction. A long sleeve and a smear of mud can reduce targeting when repellent is absent. Your hearing spikes at dusk, and every crack sounds like approach. A small fire and a smoke plume can calm your mind, while also creating a visible column above the canopy gaps. Transition now into the first night, when darkness compresses choices and magnifies mistakes. A headlamp beam and a black river tell the same story. Visibility is power, and you have little. At night, moving is a high-risk bet, because one fall can break a wrist or tear a knee. A stationary camp beside higher ground protects you from floods and from your own haste. Temperature drops, and your wet shirt becomes a cold sponge against your chest. Dry leaves under your body act like insulation, turning the forest floor from a refrigerator into a mattress. Noise rises, and your brain invents threats to explain it. Identifying real sounds, like insect chorus and distant thunder, prevents the spiraling paranoia that burns more energy than walking. If you are near a riverbank, the current is both guide and hazard. A slip into dark water can end everything, so you mark edges with stones and stay a safe step back. On the second morning, the sun appears only as pale light through leaves, and direction feels imaginary. A simple rule helps. Do not change strategy every hour, because zigzags erase progress. If you chose to move, you must manage drift, because wandering curves are invisible without a trail. A straight line bearing and periodic backchecks keep your path from curling into a circle. Transition now from night survival to daylight navigation, because morning resets your options but not your location. A pale sunrise and a damp compass remind you that consistency beats improvisation. Water becomes the central constraint, because sweat continues even at rest in humid air. A rain catch made from a tarp can refill a container, turning storms into supply instead of punishment. Food is less urgent than you think, but low calories weaken judgment and mood. Edible plants are risky without knowledge, so you prioritize safe sources like small insects or known fruits only. Day 2 begins with swollen muscles and a foggy mind, and every choice feels heavier. A muddy boot and a simple checklist help you act on routine, not fear. By day 2, minor injuries inflate, because constant moisture prevents healing. A clean cloth and improvised antiseptic, like smoke exposure, reduce bacterial load when you have no medical kit. Psychology becomes a threat, because loneliness amplifies hopeless conclusions. Talking aloud, even to no one, can stabilize thinking and keep you executing your plan rather than abandoning it. If you follow a river, you may find driftwood and clearer sightlines, but you also meet insects and slippery rocks. A walking stick and slow steps reduce falls that could immobilize you. Transition now into the third day, when hope competes with exhaustion and small errors compound. A ridgeline and a dripping canteen show the trade. Better information costs precious energy. You begin to smell smoke or hear distant chainsaws, and every hint becomes magnetic. Confirmation bias can pull you off course, so you verify with repeated sounds before committing movement. By day 3, your hands blister from wet friction, and your tools start slipping. Wrapping a machete handle with cloth prevents cuts, because blood loss and infection are swift penalties. Sleep debt accumulates, and your reaction time slows, making each step more dangerous. A short midday rest in shade can restore coordination more effectively than pushing forward exhausted. You may encounter a snake on a branch, not aggressive, just present. Giving it space is smarter than fear, because injury from a fall while fleeing is more likely than a bite. Waterborne bacteria can cause diarrhea, and that accelerates dehydration brutally. If you can boil, you boil, and if you cannot, you drink rainwater collected from clean leaves. Transition now from personal struggle to search mathematics, because rescue depends on patterns. A GPS tablet and a marked trail show how teams follow probability corridors, not heroic guesses. If you keep moving, your scent trail and footprints vanish in hours, and you become statistically invisible. That invisibility is not poetic, it is operational, because search resources are finite. By the end of week 1, your body starts rationing itself, and strength fades without warning. A gaunt reflection and slower pulse signal that calories and sleep are now strategic resources. By week 2, cuts can become ulcers, and fungus can invade skin folds. Keeping feet dry with leaf changes and airing socks reduces trench foot conditions that end walking permanently. Sunlight becomes currency, because it dries clothing and lifts mood. A small clearing and a timed drying routine can prevent chills, rashes, and the depressive spiral that kills decision quality. If you reach a larger river, you might see boats, but you also meet stronger currents. A visible shoreline signal, like a large X in sand, can attract attention without entering water. Transition now toward the long tail, because survival stories are decided by compounding effects. A calendar page and a faded map remind you that weeks become months quietly. Months in the forest create chronic inflammation and weakness, and every infection becomes harder to clear. Without antibiotics, your immune system is the only clinic, and it is running on low fuel. Rescuers, meanwhile, shift from immediate response to cold case logic, using flight logs and last sightings. A command center and printed satellite photos can reopen searches when new clues emerge. The twist is that many rescues happen because someone else enters the same space for unrelated reasons. A fisherman's boat and a faint smoke plume can intersect by accident, not design. 1 year later, the story becomes documentary footage, with blurred aerial shots and an interview chair. Yet the real lesson is not bravery, it is early discipline that kept a fragile chain unbroken. Even if you are found, the Amazon follows you home through scars, nerves, and memory. A hospital bed and a silent night can trigger the same jungle sounds inside your head. If you are not found, the jungle does not win, it simply continues, indifferent. A missing poster and an empty seat show that the consequence spreads outward, beyond the canopy. Transition now from the rescue outcome to the lesson, because stories end but risks remain. A quiet studio and a jungle aerial remind you that prevention is the only guaranteed rescue. Most disappearances begin with a small decision to go without redundancy, like one battery and no whistle. A spare lighter and an orange bandana turn random chance into a plan that others can detect. Tell someone your route and return time, because that creates a trigger for action. A written note and a calendar reminder start search and rescue hours earlier, when your body is still strong. If you get lost, the calm choice is often to stop and make yourself visible, not to chase guesses. A signal fire and a reflective foil can beat miles of silent wandering. Professionals survive by rehearsing simple routines before crisis, so the plan runs when the mind freezes. A basic checklist and a pocket compass turn fear into steps you can execute. The Amazon is a mirror that shows how fragile modern certainty is once screens go dark. In the final frame, a green canopy and an empty trail ask one question: are you prepared?